Hey guys, wanted to run us through what we're going to be doing today. On the first page, make sure you grab a packet. It should be on my table and labeled. Just ask the sub and they should be able to point you to it. We're going to work with doing some log inverses, so doing some practice with what we've been doing. But first, just a quick note. So today, you all work on this little mini packet. Thursday, so tomorrow, you all are going to review, and then on Friday, we're going to take our summative. So that's an overview of what we got going on this week. So make sure you're paying attention to this and trying your hardest on this, because the test is coming up soon and you want to be prepared for that. So I'm going to walk you through one problem to kind of re-jog your memory when we're working with log inverses here. You always do the same two steps. Y equals 5 times 6 to the x. Then you switch them. 5 times 6 to the y. So here, what you're going to do is get the exponent by itself. So I'm going to divide by this 5 in front. And you might have to multiply, you might have to add, you might have to divide. It just depends on what the math is. Basically, whatever you need to do to get it by itself. So you're going to have x over 5 equals 6 to the y. So now, remember, this up here is your exponent. And if you got a variable, the y, you're trying to get y by itself. To undo that, you have to do what is the opposite, which is log. So you're going to do log base 6 on each side, log base 6, and this cancels this out, and the y comes down here, and you end up with log, just write out what you have, log base 6 of parentheses x over 5. And that's it. All you have to do is get the exponent by itself, and then do log base whatever on both sides, and that's what you've got there. So when you rewrite this, you write it f to the negative 1 of x equals log base 6 x over 5, okay? Now, that's just for number 6. What I want you to do, take a second after I get done talking, pause this video and work on 1 through 5. Once you're done with that, go ahead, unpause the video, and I'm going to show you the answers for the next section. Go. So, welcome back. Here is a quick overview of the answers. So pause as you need to. Okay, and that's all that we're going to do with logs today. So flip on over with me. You guys have this blank page here, and then we move over and we have some word problems, okay? I'm going to do this. I'm going to walk you through this first section here, and then you're going to do the last page by yourself. I'm going to walk you through this first page here, and then if you flip over, it's the same exact problems, just flipped. The same exact problems, just flipped. So let's look at this. We have Yasmin is investigating the growth of plants under different conditions for her science class. Once the little sprouts were 10 centimeters tall, should we say inches? I don't know why centimeters, 10 inches tall. She found that they were growing at a steady rate of about 1/5 inch per day. So we want to write a function, so we're looking at A here, write a function that helps Yasmin see how tall the plants will be after a given number of days. Okay, so we're just going to start it off with y equals, okay. It's kind of just, what's the slope-intercept form, right? How do we write this out? Slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b is what you're used to seeing. Y equals mx plus b, all right? This is your starting point and your change. Your starting point and your change. Okay, so what am I changing by? 1/5 per day. So 1/5 x equals my change, and then what's my starting point? Once the sprouts were 10 inches tall. So 1/5 x plus 10. That's going to be my first equation. That's all I've got to do for that, right? So it makes sense because if I plug in 5 days, like after 5 days, it would be 11 inches tall. Now, to write it for how many days it takes for the plant to reach a given height, right? Here it's given number of days, okay? Given number of days. Now it wants us to write a function for how long it takes the plants to reach a given height. So you give me height here, x is days. X is days. And here, x is height. And y is height. And here, y is days. So on inverses always, x and y flip in inverses. And that's what you see here, right? So let me highlight these. So look at my x values compared to my y values. They just flip. That's all that they do. It's the same thing, just flipping. So all I have to do on these is find the inverse. We've been doing this for a while now. So just write the same equation from above. So y equals 1/5. Let me zoom in just a little bit. 1/5 x plus 10. Flip my x and y. And then just get y by itself. Minus 10, minus 10. So x minus 10 equals 1/5 y. And remember with fractions, you just, let me write it over here. All you have to do is flip fraction and multiply. So what that's going to look like is multiplying by 5/1, which is just 5 on both sides. So times 5. So distribute that in. So my function would look like y equals 5 times x gives me 5x. 5 times -10 gives me minus 50. So this will be the function that it's looking for. Okay, so you give me a height, I'm going to multiply it by 5, then subtract 50. Now, what we're going to look at right here is this. The math department is ordering new calculators. The company found that it will sell calculators and have a constant fee for shipping. The given equation models the cost, with x being the number of calculators, and f of x being the cost. So here, what it's saying is, like, you give me a number of calculators, so this is calculators, and this is cost. So you give me a number of calculators. Here, I'll just give you a number, okay? So you're going to choose this on the test, and hint that these problems are very similar to the test. So say I have 1 calculator, 2 calculators, 3 calculators, 4 calculators, okay? It's tying back to what we had up here, right? This y equals mx plus b is coming all the way down here and coming up again, right? Because 150 is our change and 10 is our starting point. 150 is how much it costs for a calculator, and then 10 is just that flat fee of shipping. So to fill in the cost, all you had to do is just plug x in to this. So on this example, you'd have 150 times 1 plus 10. Type that in your calculator, you get 150 plus 10, which gives you 160. Okay? And then this one, you do 150 times 2 plus 10. That would give you 310. And then just keep going. 150 times 3 plus 10. And that gives you 460. Just going up by 150 every time. 150 times 4 plus 10. And then that's going to give you 610. Okay? So basically for one calculator right here, one calculator is going to cost you 160. And 3 calculators cost you 460, and so on and so on. So then, it says find the inverse function of this right here. the function we had before, and define what it means in terms of x and y, f and f inverse of x. So let's just write this. Let's talk about this one really quick. What it means in terms of x and the inverse. That just means that the x and y flip. So here, what do we have before? Originally, we had x is the number of calculators, right? So x was the calculators, and f of x is the cost. So now x is going to be the cost, and this, the f inverse of x, is going to be the number of calculators. This is just flipping. Let me highlight this here in blue. This portion right here. Like it's just a complete flip of that. Before x was the number of calculators. Now this part's the number of calculators. And then to find the inverse, all you have to do is just go in here and write it down. So my original function was f of x equals 150x plus 10. Write it as y. Flip it. And then just solve for y. So plus 10 plus 10. That gives me x plus 10 equals 150y. Divide by 150 on both sides. I get x plus 10 over 150 is y. So right here, when I'm writing out my final answer, it's already got it typed up for you. All you got to do is put the x plus 10 over 150. And just making that make sense in context, that just is telling me my inverse function, if you give, like if I plug in an x right here, if I plug in a cost, you tell me how much it costs. Oh, and that should be minus, sorry. Should be minus. It's right here. I messed that up, going a little bit too fast. I copied it down wrong. So plus, minus, minus, my mistake, minus. So you give me a cost, and I'll give you a number of calculators you can buy. So try that on your own. Like I said, here's a zoom out if you want to check your answers, and then just do this side on your own, and we'll talk about it more tomorrow.